Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. I am Goes, but I'm also in a good mood. That is Dan Tom. To my left, he is MMA Junkie Radio's fight analyst. He is also in a good mood. This is Gorgeous George over to my right. He's got a red shirt on, and he is also in a good mood. And Danny Oakers, our producer in New York, also in a good mood. Right, Danny?
Yeah.
It's going to be, I know a lot of people had expressed
Sorry, George.
interest in whether or not Danny was going to be able to make it in today. Danny, you were in a snowstorm, right, in New York?
I was. It was very interesting. They closed the buses down at 3 p.m. That's why I had to leave early yesterday.
But producer Danny has maybe missed a handful of shows since the show started, and he was able to get in. Huh? No, he's here. He went through snow, though. He battled through snow to get here.
All right, coming up at 10. Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
All right, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us. There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. He's our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom, and of course, Becky's producing today's show like he always does. It's Danny Otto, and our special guest sitting to the far right is Major General Malcolm Frost. Hello, General. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my honor to be here.
This is our territory. It's our honor to have you here. This is our territory. We got to meet you at JBLE, Joint Base Langley Eustis, and now you're here at the Mandalay Bay, like you said you would if you were ever in town. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Here for a little March Madness, a little golf, and just appreciate you guys coming out to Joint Base Eustis, and supporting our soldiers and the airmen that are there. And it was a great time. Look forward to you coming again soon, and it's just fantastic to be here with you today.
Well, thank you. We are headed there. We actually announced it to our audience yesterday. We'll be headed there for the April 7th event, which will be, it culminates with a viewing party with the soldiers at Fort Eustis. But we will be there the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So Fort Eustis on the 5th, Langley Air Base on the 6th, and then back to Fort Eustis on the 7th. So we are looking forward to it, and we have a great group assembled, and we can't wait.
Yeah, so much in common with I think the UFC and the United States military. When you think about fitness and what we're doing with we have a holistic health and fitness initiative, really trying to transform a generational shift in fitness, with our soldiers in our army based on combat fitness. And you think about that close combat of what UFC is about. I mean, it's just perfect, and I think that's why that attraction is there, especially for our soldiers in the army.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's always been a lot of synergy, and especially when we go to all the units are special to us. But when we do go to the combatives, you can tell they're picking up a tool or two, and they're teaching the soldier, our fighters as well, and everybody's learning. But it's great. We really love it. All the units that we've gone to every single time, we've been able to see different units out there, and it's incredible how much we didn't know prior to our trips.
Yeah, and again, being a former infantryman, I know now a general officer, when you just think about that close combat, that's what we do, close with and destroy the enemy, and I think a lot of folks like to do that in the ring, in the UFC, quite frankly.
They do. Yeah.
You know what's funny is you would think it would be strange for me to look to the right and see the general here, but it really isn't because we're used to doing that every day. Because if you look over to the right, that's your picture.
Oh, nice, nice.
Every day when I look to the right, you're here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different right now. You know, I'm rocking that March Madness rally beard right now. But yeah, that's a great picture. Appreciate you guys having that up. Nice.
And you said you have like an annual thing with your friends as well, revolving around March Madness, same as us. In fact, that's how we were able to connect here. I remember you saying that, and I thought, wow, if he's coming, this is a prime spot. If you'd love to watch it with us, come on down, please. But were you a baller growing up? I think soccer was one of your sports, but how about basketball?
Yeah, I played well, a little bit of basketball in my youth, early middle school. But you know, from that, went on and evolved into soccer being the main sport. Did some running and kicked football in high school, et cetera. So kind of all sports. Love all sports, as a matter of fact. And I would have loved. And so at West Point, United States Military Academy, we have wrestling and we have boxing. They're both mandatory courses, and I also took close quarters combat as well, which was an elective. So that's where I really wish I'd have gotten into those sports earlier in life because I just love it. But wrestling was in the winter, and that's when soccer was, and couldn't do it. But I'll say for the record, I got A's in wrestling and boxing, and in close combat, close quarters battles as well.
Oh,
so,
wow.
but I ain't getting in the ring with any of these guys. I'll tell you what.
Well, you're pretty safe with us. I mean, there's been a little bit of light training. He's actually competed. He had an amateur fight here in Las Vegas. But, you know, either way, I just think wrestling is a phenomenal sport for young kids to grow up in, especially in this stage now, in this day of age, where there's a lot of bullying in schools. And I believe that wrestling's a good sport that you can put your kids in, and there's just so many great fundamentals. The coaches teach you how to really push yourself to the limits, and then if you look, a lot of people that are successful have a wrestling background. I've noticed that.
Well, yeah, and if I may, I think, you know, as much as it's about the physical, I think you guys understand this. It's about the mental. It's about the confidence. It's about the discipline. It's about the attitude that you have and you carry, you know, and the confidence you have in yourself. So I think, you know, any kind of those what I'll call the close combat type of sports, or you know, those one-on-one sports. They're awesome. There's no better way, I think, for a youth in America to kind of grow up personally.
Yeah, 100%. I wasn't the most athletic kid, but I was lucky enough to grow up in the martial arts program from 1992 onwards, and that kind of big karate run of the 90s. But more importantly, it wasn't so much the skills or which martial art I did for how long. It was more the confidence factor you got as a kid. And I would always preach the same thing. Now, the crazy thing for me was with my trip down to the base, down to JBLE, was that as an adult, it's real easy to grow apathetic in any type of field, or maybe your overall attitude. You could be easy to fall into those trappings. And what I realized was that that same vibrancy, that innocence of like, oh wow, enthusiasm that you had as a kid, I really felt that kind of bleeding through over at JBLE, and seeing the programs and the training. It really kind of brought me and grounded me as an outsider kind of back down to that environment, showing that wow, you can actually get the same type of values that we're speaking of here, how that crosses over, and more importantly, it reaches young capable adults.
That's a great segue to something I want to talk about. And that's really what our United States military is about. And if you don't mind me taking in this venue,
please do.
I think a lot of Americans, there's a challenge we have. There's a little bit of a drift going on between an fundamental understanding of what our military does, who we are, compared to our civilians, the civilian force the civilian population. And I think a lot of people don't understand what you saw firsthand, which is, the character of the individuals, the value base of those individuals, the skills, the education, the training, and not just that. I'm here to tell you the benefits, both pay, medical, etc. It's a phenomenal opportunity for any young American that wants to really grow, learn about themselves, and gain and really get a foot ahead of their peers. Whether they stay in for 3 years or if they stay in for 30 like me, it doesn't matter. I think you become a much better person and grow through life, and I think you guys saw that with those young kids that were there. I say kids, soldiers, airmen, Marines, sailors. They're phenomenal.
That's what stood out to George and I, is we couldn't believe when we were in that room, all the people that are responsible for all the things that happen in the military, to see those young faces. And we thought about what we were doing at that age was nothing anywhere near what those kids were doing. It really is amazing.
And back to why we're here at the Mandalay, or why I'm here, that's where bonds are formed. And so every year, when I was 18 years old, some of my United States Military Academy West Point classmates, we come back every year. I mean, our bonds will never be broken. They were forged in that institution through that, through what I talked about, what we learned in the military at that institution. And so every year we come back and we bond together and are lifelong friends because of that experience, and get to come to great places like Las Vegas, and we celebrate again with a little bit of little bit of golf, a little bit of March Madness, and you know, we may hit the tables a little bit once in a while, but can't talk too much about that.
A steakhouse or two, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. Oh, gosh. As a matter of fact, last night, absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, we have a great one here, Strip Steak it's called.
Okay.
We're always endorsing it. But you said something that was key. You called it a foot ahead, and I agree with you so much because, look, on this show I'm a yeller, and we're talking about these fights that are coming up and these excellent athletes. And when we went to JBLE, I was so humbled by what I saw. And I was trying to carefully craft my words together. But what I did tell him was, just when this show's over and I am out and about in Las Vegas, which is the second city of mine that I love. We grew up in Santa Ana, California, right down the 405 from yourself.
Yep. Mean streets.
The mean streets of Santa Ana, California. So
not so mean streets.
Got to get that
Torrance
street
here.
cred up.
You know, Torrance, not so mean. But
the mean traffic of Torrance is what we call it.
But you know what? Hoist Gracie's from Torrance, or lives there now.
Yeah, and well, so in graduate of my high school, back to martial arts, Chuck Norris went to the same high school.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
North Torrance High. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I was saying, after I leave here, one thing I've noticed is, and I don't know if it's particular to this city, it's probably across all big cities, is I feel like a lot of the younger generation is kind of looking for that quick hustle and that quick buck. And some may get it, because there are some talented people out there that can sing or perform or do whatever, right, or athletics. But most of us aren't, you know what I mean? And I feel like those values have been taken away. And one thing I was able to voice to the young men and women that were listening to us, it was at Fort Eustis, was you all are ahead. You're ahead of the game, you know, because over here, because of that quick hustle, you're not getting the drive and the discipline. And plus, any sort of success that you have when it's too quick, it can be a quick fall as well. You have to earn it. You have to bleed and sweat for it and want it and continue to grow. Otherwise, it's going to be a quick fall if you're not prepared for it. Some people can go to the top and stay at the top. And so that's why I was trying to look everyone in the eye and say, you're already a step ahead of everybody else. If you only knew that, and if you don't know it, I'm trying to tell you. And if I can't say it, take it away, Uriah Faber. And he was saying the same thing, and everybody else that was there. But it's so true what the military can do for a young man or a woman.
It's foundational. So you want to develop that foundation when you're young, that it's uncrackable, it's unshakable, that you'll never drop off of. And I think that's what the military gives you. I mean, it's, again, I don't want to overstate it, but the values, the character, the discipline, the attitude, the skills that you get, no matter what you want to jump off to next, you have the confidence and you have the background and the experience and the character traits that are attractive to anything out there, whatever you want to do. And so you're exactly right, George.
I was sitting there once during the fights, and I sat at a table that had all females. Now I thought, are they as interested in the fights? They're watching, but maybe I could sit there and at least tell them what's coming up, because there was a female fight coming up. And as I sat there, of course, old semi-ignorant George, I try to feel like I've read a book or two, but sure enough, I was thinking that the females were going to tell me something along the lines of maybe logistics, something behind the scene. I was thinking Chloe from 24. And all of them were helicopter mechanics. And I was like, wow. I go, see, you know your ways around the Apaches, and we had flown the Blackhawks when we went to Afghanistan, and these machines are amazing, you know what I mean? And yeah, they were telling me about it. They were proud to know about it, and they were telling me about the future that it has, whether they stay in the military or aside from it. It was quite a skill that they had learned. Yeah,
no, it's a great point too. Sometimes there can be a stereotype out there, but in the United States Army and all the military now, every single skill, we have 140 skills, military occupational skills, just in the Army alone. Everything from being a paralegal all the way up to an infantryman to an attack Apache pilot, like you said. They are all open to everybody, no matter what your gender is, what your background, race, color, creed. It does not matter. And we've got females that are now infantrymen in the combat arms. We've got our first Ranger School graduates, the toughest leadership school in the United States Army. We have women that are graduating from that. No change in the standards. So you're right. It's open to everybody. It is equal footing. You just prove yourself. You want to try. You got a great attitude and you got the work ethic. Then doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. You can do anything in the military.
Let me test my memory. So if they were helicopter mechanics, would that make them a part of the 128th AVN?
Yep, 128th Aviation.
Look at you.
Yeah,
there we go.
Fort Eustis. Yep,
I
you
like
got
it.
it.
All right.
I was going to show off the 3S. Family,
Oh, there we
faith,
go.
and fulfillment.
There we go.
You talk about that,
Nice.
General?
Nice.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
was
yeah.
really listening to you when you brought that up, but I
Yeah.
thought it was very important.
Yeah, well, yeah, I bring this up. I talk about it, after 30 years, you kind of boil things down, and I call it the 3 Fs, and I know my last name's Frost, but it's not that F, but it's really family, and that's kind of number one. Whatever you call family. That can be your blood family. It could be the family that's to your left and right here. It can be family that, whatever you consider part of your family. It could be an organization. It could be anything. You've got to take care of that. You've got to get into that. You cannot neglect that. The next thing is faith, and faith can be spiritual, doesn't have to be spiritual. That's the second F, but it's having faith in yourself, your organization, your mission, or a deity, so to speak, if that's what you want to go in the spiritual route. And the last thing is fulfillment, and I think fulfillment, a lot of people take family and faith, not necessarily for granted, but they understand that, but I think fulfillment is so important, and that last F, and I think fulfillment for me comes from serving something greater than yourself. It's that sense of accomplishment, that sense of sacrifice, serving something that is greater than yourself. And that's why I love the job that we do in the United States military and the Army. And I'm biased, but if you think about this, and I'm gonna roll this out if you don't mind. If you go back 100 years to World War I, you go back 75 years to World War II, you go back to 50 years to Vietnam, or the last 16 and a half years back to 9/11. I would take this argument anywhere, that there is no institution that has done more for our citizens, our way of life, democracy, freedom, and, oh, by the way, for all of humankind across the globe than your United States Army. And so if you want to serve on the greatest team on earth, serve on my team, serve with me. It is the greatest team on earth. You want that sense of fulfillment? Stand by my side. Brother, sister, let's do it.
Wow.
Awesome,
Goes,
right?
you better put your hands down. He's going to drop the mic.
I know, right?
That really was. I like it.
George and Dan, they've lived by the 3 Fs their entire life. Every time the report cards would come, for sure. 3 Fs. Every single time.
I got an A and PE, though.
Was that 3 each, or?
Oh, yeah, 3 each, for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
Yeah, no, that might have scared me away from some ASVAB tests back in my day. My testing ability. I don't know if I would have landed where I wanted to.
I was telling Dan in the morning, I go, hey, General Frost may be here. George and I were bringing our coins. And you know what he told me? He said, I don't have to worry about that. I carry mine in my wallet.
Oh, man.
You really?
You guys killed me, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, you guys got me on that. You coined me. I owe you a drink, man. I didn't have mine on me. I owe you a beer.
We have a couple fighters that went on, not the last tour, but the tour before.
Yep.
And they've been taking them to their fights. And they consider them good luck. And they haven't lost since they've done that.
Really?
And they'll be fighting on Saturday when we're there to host.
That's awesome. They're not putting them in their gloves, are they?
No.
Where's Stitch? Is he stitch that right in?
But one of them I know got the coin because I guess it's on the Langley side, right? When we go visit
yeah, the Air Force.
The Air Force side, and,
Yep.
and they gave us this. Have you ever seen the Dragon that they have in the unit that handles the F-22 Raptor?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they have a Dragon there, and we went with Paul the Dragon Felder.
Yep.
And so he's fighting, and so for some reason he connected with that coin, and he always carries it for good luck. But then we found out that Felice Herrick does as well. Wow, very cool.
That's the one, actually.
This one Paul has.
That's the
Same
one
one.
Oh, okay.
Same one Paul has.
That's the one
That's a great
Paul
point.
carries.
It'd be awesome if you could take because every unit, in the military, they've got a, they've got like not a mascot but an icon or something like the Blue Devils or the Red Devils, and so it'd be very cool if you could find somebody that has that that moniker, that name, like the Dragon, and find a unit that has that same name and link. That would be a great link up, man. Get those coins to those guys. That'd be fantastic. Just like this, I can see why he's Paul the Dragon Felder. Yep. Oh, look at that, beautiful.
Yeah, he lit up like a kid in Christmas when we went to go visit the unit. When we saw the actual, the physical mascot with the teeth and the metal there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
Now, one question that I think a lot of people don't know. One question that I have is, what's the latest one can enlist into the military?
Oh boy,
it's like 35 or something.
Yeah, it's about that age. I don't have it because it changes based on needs, but it's somewhere around 35 right now. It got up to almost 40 at one point. At the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But I think it's necked back down to about 35. And don't hold me to that number, but it's close to that.
When we've talked about our trips, not only we did 4 to JBLE and 1 to Afghanistan. We've come back and excuse me.
And Kyrgyzstan.
And Kyrgyzstan. So when we've come back, people have said, I wish, I should have. But I knew they were like in their high 20s, mid-20s. I'm like, wait a minute. You can go all the way to your 30s. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And even a couple fighters have considered. I don't know if Ben Henderson's still going to go through with it, but he was giving some strong consideration.
Yeah, and now, again, you just have to really mentally and physically qualify. And, we now have a physical test in the United States Army that that you have to pass to get in as well. But it's, I think anyone from MMA would not have a problem with that. But yeah, no, it's, people often think I miss my time because I'm not 18, 20, 21. But we have we have folks that come in their early 20s and succeed with a 20-year career, can still retire in their 40s, vested with a pension, still young, can do something else. Even if you're up to 30, by 50, by my age, you could retire still at 20 years. So it's, there's a lot of great opportunities. So don't just say, too late, I missed my opportunity. And you may not want to serve that long. You may just want to serve for a few years to gain that experience base, and because you want to serve your country. And I think that's a noble cause as well.
All right. Now, this is the silly question portion of the program, if I may. Is that allowed?
Is what allowed?
The silly question portion of the program?
It's your program.
All right, just commenced.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Who are the real badasses when it comes to the Rangers, the SEALs?
Yeah.
What are the other ones I always hear?
That's a tough question.
This is a George.
Delta.
Too many movies. Yeah, Delta.
Yeah.
Remember when Bad Boys 2, when they had to go get Martin Lawrence's sister? She was played by Gabrielle Union. They go, oh my God, the Delta. They brought a Delta Force guy. I'm like, oh wait, so it's not the SEALs? Is it the Rangers? And so who's? Do you guys ever have arguments over this with the other branches?
Never. No, never. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, and there's an Air Force team where it's only 2 of them, and they can go in and.
Yeah, there's a Special Tactics Squadron. So yeah, so here's the deal. So all of the services have what I'll call a special operations, and there are different types of special operations. You have different tiers or levels of special operators out there across all the services. So. So like tier 1, meaning the top of the top, and then you've got other ones as you kind of go down the line. They're all important and have different missions. So I'm not going to really say, who might be better than any other. They all have specialties in what they do. Each one of them has unique capabilities. Some are the same, but they're all kind of pieces to an entire puzzle that's necessary for us to be able to, quite frankly, take it to the enemy and kill the terrorists where they live, and that's what they do best.
There's a lot of it depend on which time period too, depending on what time period of a veteran you're talking to. Of course, everyone's going to be biased to their own department. But for example, my stepdad, he ended up starting in the Navy, but ended up serving in the 5th Group during Vietnam. Yeah. So of course he's going to say, but talk to Special Forces guys since then. 5th Group Vietnam is not the same as maybe now per se, and I'm sure everybody kind of changes their roles throughout the years.
See, this is what's great about this is why we have the best military on earth, because not only are we competitive amongst ourselves, but you have 1,000 different pieces that are put together in this mosaic that allow us to be the most effective, efficient military that the world has ever seen. So we need Marines because of their specific mission. We need the Air Force because of their mission. We need the Coast Guard because of their mission. We need the Navy and the Army because of their mission. And then in special operations, there are different aspects of that all come together. So that when we need to do the nation's bidding, because the people and the commander-in-chief tell us to do it, we're ready to do it, and we can do it across the gamut of capabilities that are out there because we have all of them, the whole suite, because of all of the different things that we just talked about. And so you're right. SEALs are going to think that they're the best, and Delta's going to think they're the best, and Special Ops thinks they are, and infantrymen and Rangers and the whole nine. But each of them plays an integral role to what we do for our nation. So
it's like having a garage full of exotic cars. It's like, well, it depends. They're all very nice, but what are we doing? Are we running a track today, or are we?
Right. Yeah. exactly. I mean,
good analogy.
If you're going by sea, you may need the SEAL. If you're going by air, you need the Air Force. If you want to drop a bomb from far up, that's the Air Force. If you need to close with and clear out a bunker system, you might want a Ranger do that close in. So it's all depending on what that mission is, and then we tailor it and develop the force together, and they're not done alone. There are always all sorts of different pieces that are around that to make sure it happens, and there are folks that plan it. There's logistics and sustainment. There's folks who take care of the weapons. There are folks who plan it. I mean, it takes a whole host of capabilities. It's not just that operator or that person that's at the pointy edge of the spear. There's a whole huge team that's behind them to ensure that they're successful. And intelligence, communications, logistics. I mean, they're all vital to ensure the success of every mission.
So and this is my last question, just to end the silly question round. What's your favorite military movie or TV show?
Oh my God, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Hard hitting over here, right?
Woo. My favorite let's see, Stripes.
Okay.
Bill Murray.
It holds up.
No. So I love Stripes, but I think, quite frankly, Saving Private Ryan is just man, that gets you in the gut. It's intense. It was very, very realistic feeling. From the intensity standpoint, it's hard for me to go off of Saving Private Ryan as just a classic World War II gutted out movie with tremendous acting and the realism and that beach. You just can't even imagine. I can't even fathom landing in World War II on Omaha Beach or on Utah Beach against the Nazis and what they did, and the way that Spielberg kind of drew that out with Tom Hanks and those actors through that movie. It's just gut wrenching. It sticks with you. So I think that's one. Another great one is Glory. If you remember Denzel Washington.
Movies.
So that's one of my favorite all times as well. Glory was just another one of those movies which was at a critical point in our nation's history. And then to show that that dichotomy, that the differences between this colonel, Matthew Broderick, who was just commissioned, hey, you're a colonel, boom, and then Denzel Washington, and trying to stand up at that time what they called it the colored army, and bringing them together, and what they did. In that the way that movie just kind of brought you through that point in time in our history, and you think about where we are today. That's another one that just tore at your heartstrings.
Wow.
Did you ever see Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis?
Actually, I have not. I've
always liked that one just because of the way that group was able to rally. It wasn't like a large army type movie. It was a special unit, special ops unit, and wow, that one was pretty intense as well.
That was in Africa, right?
Yes, they're running from, I think it's Nigeria to Cameroon to Nigeria. I'm not sure. Saw it a long time ago, but I really like that one.
Some of the other classics like Bridge Over River Kwai.
Oh
The Longest Day. Just,
those
old classic World War II movies are just awesome. Yeah.
So George asked you, which of those special forces is the toughest? And I know that's a tough question to answer, but what if we put a spin on it? In mixed martial arts, we have our strikers, we have our wrestlers, and we have our jiu-jitsu players.
Oh, man.
Could you maybe equate them to, maybe the Air Force guys or the jiu-jitsu guys?
Well, come on. You guys know the answer to this, right? I mean, who's your opponent, right? What's your strength and what's their strength and weakness? I mean, we want to attack. So that's the beauty of the military, right? We have the whole suite, the whole arsenal. And so you get to pick, say, you know what, that's the target. That's where it is. That's the weak point. So we pick our strengths to attack that weakness. Unfortunately, you get hooked up with one other fighter. Your strength may be against their strength. Your weakness may be against their strength. You just don't know. So any of those qualities, any of those strengths might be great in one fight, but not great in the next fight, right? Sure. So whether it's one type of martial art, whether if you're a ground and pounder, whether you're somebody who's like Bones Jones who's just got these vicious elbows, or you just don't know, right? Or you've got the reach. You're a boxer, or you kick somebody down. Can you take those leg kicks? I mean, you just think about it, right? I mean, I think it all comes down to understanding what your strengths and your opponents or your enemies at that moment in time's weaknesses are, and how can you exploit that? I think that's huge, and I think I'm not a pro at this at all. But I love watching MMA, and I love watching so. I think too often what gets in the way for some of these fighters, I think it's their own ego.
Yeah.
And it's their, I'm going to muscle through. I'm going to take this against my, their strength is that. I'm going to show the world that I can beat them at their strength.
Yeah.
And I think you gotta really look at it. Take your ego out of it as best as you can and say, how do I tactically take this down to win the fight?
A lot of wrestlers,
winning is winning.
They'll hear the booze and they're like, okay, I got to strike, instead of sticking with what brought them to the dance.
Right. And so, stick with what you brought to the dance. And then meanwhile, what are you doing? You go back and you practice on those other things to build those toolkits up. And then all of a sudden you break that out at some point, right, which you see guys doing as well. So I don't know if that I didn't mean to sidestep your question there, but I think that's the way I'd look at it.
What about this morning? Before you got here, we're breaking down John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. So he's actually an MMA fan. He's not saying that.
Okay.
He watches the fights.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share maybe some of your favorite fighters or favorite fights?
Jeez Louise. Well, that's one of my favorite fights. Now I'm a big Spider fan as well.
Anderson.
Oh my God, yeah, Anderson Silva back in the day. It was just, and I think he was so good that even though he had a little bit of that ego, he could kind of get through it because he could just beat anybody at any game. But as you've seen, lately, last few years, and then, I think that kind of got to him a little bit. But I love watching Anderson Silva in the heyday. Loved watching, Randy Couture. Obviously, just can't help that. But I think the Jones and the Gustafsson fight is one of the best fights I've ever seen. And I'm not going to say anything. I know it was a unanimous decision, but it looked closer than that. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It was. In fact, Alex, clearly, any media you talk to or any fighters or whoever, Alex was up 2-1 going into the 4th and 5th. And he was up in the 4th and the 5th, and each time he lost both rounds towards the end.
Right.
Probably a little bit of conditioning, and and Jones is great, but he was right there. I mean, he could have walked away with that title that night.
Yep. Yeah, I think those last couple minutes of round 5, he was really, and I think he was a little stung by that elbow in the 4th too.
Yeah, he got rocked by that
top
one.
of the head, which I think kind of that helped, get after what was just enough for him to, I think, lose those last couple rounds.
Yeah, it's a great example, no matter what side you stand on, of offense late, winning a round, and that was kind of the key in that fight, and we really saw that strategy come to light.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. Also on today's show, Devon Brock and Taiwan Claxton. We promise this time they'll really appear on the show. We had phone issues on Tuesday, and then yesterday it was on them, but today we will talk to both young fighters. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio, live from the Race and Sportsbook here at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, where elegance and excitement meet on the Las Vegas Strip. 877-632-7000 for room reservations, or follow them on their social media fronts of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.com/Mandalay Bay. Let them know the @MMA Junkie Radio guys sent you. All right, we're cruising along here in the first hour. And again, we're joined by Major General Malcolm Frost. He's here in studio with us, and we met the general when we visited the troops back east on our third visit, and we'll be going on our fifth visit coming up here on April 5th, 6th, and 7th, in conjunction with a viewing party at Fort Eustis on April 7th. Going with us is Stephen the Wonder Boy Thompson, Eric Nixick, the GM and one of the head coaches over there at Extreme Couture, and Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. It should be a really, really fun time. Great group. We learn so much, and we come back with so much every time we do go to the joint base. Now, General, one question I want to ask you, for any young man or woman that's listening, I know that we talked about the age requirement, 18, and they can go as high as their mid-30s. But what if they're asking themselves, what does it take to join the military? Some people may feel like they don't have what it takes. What would you answer to that?
Well,
physically and mentally.
Yeah. So here's the deal. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to want to serve your nation, I think, and want to improve yourself.
Lower the mic.
You could just.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Good. There you go.
Yeah. First thing I think is just the will. You want to serve your nation. You want to do something to better yourself. I think that's first and foremost. Then you have to pass a test to make sure that you've got the mental aptitude to do certain types of skills. We kind of gradiate. If you're going to be a mechanical engineer, you got to kind of probably be on the little smarter end of the spectrum, smarter than me. But if you want to be an infantryman like me, kind of what we call a dumb grunt, then you don't have to be quite as smart. And then you got to pass a physical test. But the beauty of this is, our recruiters in the recruiting stations, about 1,900 of them across the nation, they have a future soldier training program. So they'll actually help you prepare to become a soldier and to become a recruit that can qualify. They'll help you get physically fit. They'll help you acculturate you to learn a little bit about the Army and what you're going to experience. And they'll look at what you need to do if it's a math or an English skill. I mean, they're out there helping young kids, that are in high school or even after high school that want to join, get qualified and look at what's deficient in their ability to come into the United States Army. But we have minimum standards across the board, and you gotta be a good person too. You have to have good standards of conduct through your life, obviously as well. And so we look at the whole person, and then try and train and help you get ready to come in. So, but I think the number one thing you got to have is that desire, that willingness to serve, and wanting to better yourself and understanding what it is that you're getting into. And then the rest of it, we can work on. And get you in.
So that's what you were talking about with the recruiters. It's almost like a post ROTC from high school, but yet at the same time, you haven't fully committed yet.
Yeah, exactly. So you come in and say, hey, I'm interested.
Okay.
And you say, I want to do this job. And they say, okay, great. And so what they do is you take tests for it, and they'll say, okay, well, you're a little deficient here, or you can qualify for this. And then we have what we call for the Army, let's just say physically. It's called the Occupational Physical Assessment Test. It used to be a few years ago, the strength that you need to have, the fitness level you had to be able to join the United States Army was to open up, the strength to open up the recruiting door, quite frankly. But now that's not the case. Now we have, we went through and did kind of a physical demand study and looked at what are the attributes we needed to make sure that soldiers, when they go through basic training, basic combat training, that they could handle it and become physically fit enough so that they are ready at their first unit of assignment after their basic training. And so what we did is develop this test, which is 4 events, which is basically it's a seated medicine ball throw, kind of for strength. It's a standing long jump, it's strength deadlift, weights, and it's also what you would know as a shuttle run or a beep test, like the kids have in school now, which is really and so there are standards for each of those. And then let's say you want to be in the combat arms, an infantryman, an armor soldier, an artilleryman. We have standards that are the highest to achieve. That you have to score on across those 4 events to achieve that skill. If you want to be an infantryman, you've got to achieve that. But let's say that you've got something, you want to be a paralegal or you want to be a fueler or something like that where it's less physically demanding, then there's a minimum standard that's a little bit lower than that. But there is one standard across the board every soldier must go across, and then we gradiate those standards based on the job that you want to, that you aspire to be in the United States Army. And so and what that's helped us do is it's caused less attrition. We've helped to prepare young kids, young recruits better to become trainees and then soldiers, and we've better prepared them, before they even get into the Army and when they get into basic training, which I think has really helped us and helped them as individuals to succeed.
That's what was crazy to me was just the simulation aspect too of the training, not just the layers that he's speaking of, but then you're simulating it to where even an outsider can see like, wow, okay, that's a good way to tell if someone can do it or not. For example, me and Colby Covington wouldn't have made great forklift drivers because they told us we were the first people to crash it into a tree. It hadn't been done before, so I was like, okay, we probably wouldn't have made that test, but it's good to have these tests to know where someone stands.
And the great thing about the Army, the United States Army, is you come in and say, I want to do this job. 140 different skills, and you say, this is what I want to do. And if you qualify for that, you can be that.
Right.
You can earn that skill and become that soldier. Or you'll get a host of different, if you're really good physically and mentally, you may get a lot of choices based on the needs of the Army. It says, hey, you could be any one of these 20, 30, 40, what we call military occupational skills, which could be, they could be, again, a simple, I say simple, being an infantryman is not simple, but it's, closing with and destroying the enemy is not exactly simple, but it could be a very technical job. It could be that aviation mechanic. It could be you could be a darn nuclear engineer. I mean, whatever it is that you want to do, if you qualify for that and you want that, you can get it. And that's the beautiful thing about the Army is we don't just say come in the Army and we're going to tell you what you're going to do. We at least give you options based on your ability to qualify for that job.
I think that's important for people to know that.
Yeah. And not every service is like that, by the way. The Army does that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Once again, I'll stamp my foot. The United States Army does that.
We see a lot of parallels and a lot of crossover with mixed martial arts and the military. We're not the only ones that do the morale tours. You'll see NFL players, basketball players, all kinds of sports. But for some reason, there's that connection with mixed martial arts. And now you guys are going to actually have an event on one of your bases. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's 27 or 28 July. Yeah, so we're gonna at Fort Eustis. So it's the 100th anniversary of Fort Eustis, really the 100th year that's been in existence. It was stood up for World War I and to send troops to World War I. So we're doing a kind of a year-long celebration. And one of the main events, one of the main attractions that the soldiers want is they would love to see an MMA fight. So we're gonna have one right there in the aircraft hangar with all the aircraft right there. And we're going to fill that with soldiers, airmen, I'm sure sailors, because we got sailors from Norfolk that are just down. And so really looking forward to that event. That's going to be kind of one of the highlight events of that weekend where we're going to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Fort Eustis and its service to our nation. And no better way, I think, to do it than to partner and do a kind of a MMA event there. So it's going to be fantastic. And to your point, I think, why is there that different connection to the sport? I really have to it comes down to me, MMA just seems like more of that everyday common, you seem closer to it. The NFL, these sports that have got up to be so glitzy and so almost unreachable. I mean, they've been at these echelons in society, kind of at the celebrity star level. Not that the MMA stars or UFC stars aren't fantastic, but they just seem more realistic, more down to earth, and you just seem to have more in common with them. I know that's why I love the sport, and it just and they seem more grounded. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but to me, that's I think the connection, and then and then you add the connection of the physicality of what you do in the ring with the physicality of what it takes to be in my case a United States Army soldier. I think there's there's even that next bridge right there, which makes you feel even closer, and I think that's why you love the sport.
Can I take a stab at it?
Sure.
I think it's the preparation. If you look at the NFL, they don't have anything to worry about in April, right? But mixed martial artists year-round at any second can get that call and say, can you step in and can you fight 3 rounds for a title? At any moment that can happen. And I think they can relate to
on the other side of the world, or maybe in your hometown. You don't know when you get the bout
ready to go, right?
Well, so that's a perfect example too, because I'll tell you what, every day, people don't know this. In the Army alone, we've got 180,000 soldiers in 140 countries around the world today serving. Think about that. A lot of folks think that Iraq and Afghanistan, that those wars are over. They're still going, but they're not at their height. Okay, that we must not have that many folks around the world, doing much. Just the Army alone, 180,000 in 140 countries. I mean, counterterrorism, doing security force assistance, peacekeeping, counterinsurgency operations, and getting after and killing terrorists, and or assuring allies or deterring adversaries. That, from Korea to the Middle East to you name it. And then, so while they're doing that, they have to be ready every single day, because some of them are in high threat zones or could be deployed instantly to a high threat zone. One of my last operational units I was in, the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, they have an 18-hour wheels-up mission to go anywhere in the world and conduct an airborne assault, seize an airfield, and in enemy territory in 18 hours. You can't just magically say go. You are constantly training to be ready across the board every single day. And our units in the Army that are not currently deployed are training to be deployed in a moment's notice every single day, based on any of the threats that might occur to this nation. And so you're exactly right. You just never know when, you never know where, so you better be ready.
Also, the psychological step too, right? It just having that relation. Like, people who live by the ocean think about stuff like hurricanes, whereas people that don't, they go, "What's a hurricane? Oh, those things happen." And I think there's something about that awareness too that I'm sure that's very relatable between the two.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Exactly right. So I think there are a lot of things, a lot of reasons that why it's easy for me, and it's easy for a lot of soldiers and a lot of service members to relate to the fighters in MMA in the sport.
The easiest step for anybody that's listening is just call your local Army recruiter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, through social media.
If they have more questions or if they want to go through that program.
Yep, there's a recruiting it's no harm to walk in and talk to a recruiter and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. I know we're not in the show to recruit soldiers, but we always need great young Americans to be able to serve. We have an all-volunteer Army and all-volunteer military right now. So we're dependent on the youth of America, I think, to serve, and there's no better way to kind of do it in the United States military. And I think what you gain from it, it's incredible. I mean, people think it's dangerous. Well, yeah, sure, it can be dangerous, but so is getting in your car and driving down the strip in Vegas, right? I mean, danger is a relative thing, and there are a lot of different jobs, a lot of different things to do. And I would argue that there are a heck of a lot of other more dangerous things, quite frankly, every single day that we do in our life. And sometimes, I get it. Sometimes we're looking for folks that take a little bit of risk, quite frankly. That want to take a little bit of risk for themselves, for their nation, and understand what that means, that it's more than them, that's more about than them, that there are greater causes, greater things to do. And without the military, I doubt we'd be the nation we are today. So, we need some great young Americans to serve. Again, serve for just a few years. I think what you gain out of it will serve you the rest of your life. Talk to any veteran and what they learned. Anyone who served, whether it was for a year, 5 years, or 20 years, what they learned, the core of who they are as a successful human being and American, guaranteed there's a foundation that relates right back to their service in the military.
So true. And just in time for the NCAA basketball tournament, SiriusXM has 3 channels dedicated to the 3 biggest conferences in college sports. SEC Radio is on channel 374, ACC Radio is on channel 371, and Pac-12 Radio is on channel 373. Check them out on your radio or on the SiriusXM app.
What's Pac-12 talk about right now?
Right now, there's not much to talk about.
Oh, man.
But they can talk about the upcoming football season.
Yeah.
USC had a great recruiting class, and they're going to come back strong. You just watch.
What's going on with SoCal, man?
I know.
I don't know. It's a hotbed for athletes, but I don't know. Everyone
I think they
looking to Hollywood, make a rap album, or be in the next reality show. They're not taking it serious. Who knows? All right, we're going to take this last break. When we come back, we will talk about March Madness. We're in the next round, and we got to get some predictions, maybe one from the general, and see where Goes and I stand. I mean, our
don't listen to us.
We're in shambles. Yeah, our stuff is in shambles, but we'll see if we can piece it together. Give you all some advice for tonight, because the Sweet 16 round will be starting tonight and going through the weekend. It's MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Stay close.
They taught Andy Griffith how to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back to wrap up hour number 1. We have Major General Malcolm Frost here in studio with us, and we are now going to pivot to basketball. He is in town for March Madness. It is a tradition he has with his friends, the same way we have with ours. And I think everybody's bracket's been busted at this point, or at least there's been a lot of damage to it. Maybe you still have a finalist alive, especially if you took Villanova or whatever. I had, for example, Arizona going all the way, but my other 3 teams are still alive. So if Villanova goes down, I still have a shot. How about you, Goes?
I have Villanova and Kansas left, and only one of them can go from there. So on the other side, it got completely busted. It's going to be tough. I had Tennessee, and actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, yeah.
And what was that parlay you hit on Sunday? Because everybody else just got ravaged Thursday through Saturday, but Sunday
we had Florida State
right
to hang with Xavier, and that was kind of scary because they were down. Who else did we have? We play a lot of the first to 15s here, so whoever scores the first 15.
Yep.
One of those we had as well, and I don't remember who the other 2 teams were, but it might have been in the Nevada game. I'm not sure.
Okay. And guess who was at the Nevada game in person? General Frost. Can you talk about that? You saw the 22-point comeback.
Yeah. So normally my buddies, we come out every year here on the first weekend of March Madness to Vegas, but this time we have one buddy's in Nashville, so we all went out there to watch it live. I'll tell you, that was the best regional, biased I think, but just watching Nevada come back, the overtime, then watching the 22-point comeback.
Wow. Cincinnati, right?
Against Cincy, phenomenal, wow. and then to watch Florida State come back against Xavier too. They were down hard too, and they come back and. We don't need to talk spreads probably, but I'll just say
That's what we do here in Vegas.
All right, it is what it is. I had the beauty is I got crushed like most people did. I think here on Friday and Saturday, just absolutely devastated. Thursday, Friday, Saturday actually, but on Sunday made it all up and had Nevada live, right? Because we watched them the first game. In watching them live, you just get a different sense for the floor. You get a different sense in TV. You can see the kids. You can see, you watch the coaches. You watch them in the timeouts. And you can watch the whole floor, not just where the ball is, I think. And you get a much better sense of the team and how they're handling adversity throughout. And I just watched Nevada, and I'm like, man, they're good. They're gonna win. And I had confidence. And so bet on Nevada, bet on A&M. Also had UMBC in the points, which they covered. It was a 10.5 spread, and I'm glad the last 2 free throws were missed, so they covered that. So I had that in a parlay and a teaser, which was good. So, so this weekend, I'll tell you, I just, I like Loyola Chicago, but if you notice, remember the 98-year-old chaplain for Loyola Chicago?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. She's predicting against the team, right?
No, yeah, exactly. So she only had them getting to the Sweet 16 in her bracket. So I don't feel bad now against betting against Loyola because she did as well. So I think Nevada's going to, quite frankly, I believe they're going to dust Loyola. So they're going to cover that one. And I cannot believe the spread right now that Michigan has on A&M. A&M just devastated North Carolina. I think that's a clean bet too. So I like Texas A&M, I like Nevada against Loyola. I like Kentucky against Kansas State. Tough one is going to be Florida State and Zags. I watched Florida State, and watching them in timeouts with the coach and them yelling at each other, et cetera, I was surprised they came back like they did. And so there's a little bit of, in my personal opinion, I got to be careful here, but there was a little bit of adversity on that floor. They didn't handle it as maturely as Nevada did, and so if the Zags have a decent game, I like the Zags there, but I don't know if I'm going to touch that one. We'll see.
Well, sir, thank you very much for stopping by and saying hello, and we will be seeing you in a couple weeks
Absolutely.
when we go to JBLE. And again, thank you very much for talking a little bit about the military, the Army more specifically. And for anybody that would like to follow the General, his Twitter handle is @Malcolm_Frost. He's very active on it. Let him know you heard him on the @MMAjunkie Radio Show. That's @The Goes. That's @DanTomMMA, and I'm @MMAjunkie George. We still got 1 hour to go. We'll be talking to a few MMA fighters, Devon Brock and Taiwan Claxton. However, they will be showing up in about 30 minutes, so we'll have some time to dissect the latest news in mixed martial arts. So stay close. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Sirius XM Rush 93.
Ain't no drag. Papa's got a brand new bag.
So maybe not tonight, but you guys gonna be here Friday, Saturday?
Gotta let this jam play out, right?
Got it.
All right, we're back here on MMA Junkie Radio. We do this show Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday, people. Non-stop MMA talk, and we sprinkle in other stuff, as you can see. What we want to start getting into, though, if you go to the front page of MMAjunkie.com, you will see a story by Steven Morocco, Colby Covington versus Rafael Dos Anjos, set for interim title at UFC 224. Dan, Tom, your thoughts?
Colby Covington?
That
He's
is
fighting for
bananas. Wow, interim.
Okay.
My thoughts is, where's Tyron Woodley? I've only heard Tyron Woodley weighing on Floyd Mayweather stuff recently. It seems like what's his injury status? Is there a setback in the labrum? Is there facts there? That's what I want to know. What's going on with Tyron Woodley? Because he probably was not excited about that news, right?
I seriously doubt it. And what's funny is, really, when you think about it, Colby Covington, right? How long has he been trying to get a title shot? Little did he know it would come this way. But you know what? Rafael Dos Anjos, that is not an easy matchup. Tyron Woodley, that is not an easy matchup. Careful what you wish for, Colby Covington. But speaking of Colby Covington, he was with us on one of our last tours.
Yeah.
Over at Joint Base Langley Eustis. And, I mean, Dan, you saw it. You saw it right in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
There were no breaks for this guy at all. I mean, at a time where we were all there for the troops and hanging out, any little time that you have, those days are so busy. They go from early morning to late at night. Anytime you get, you probably want to sleep. Colby Covington was outside training, running around, Clubber Lang style, doing sit-ups on the concrete. Who does that? So if anybody's going to be ready for a matchup like that, it's Colby Covington. But Rafael Dos Anjos, when have we seen him not show up as well? He's been a beast as of late. So I love this fight, but I really want to figure out what in the world is going on here.
He was on. Okay, I'm talking about the champ here, Tyron Woodley. He was close to fighting Nate Diaz at the end of last year because even though the shoulder wasn't 100%, he felt like it was good enough for certain matchups. And Nate is one of those where there's just not going to be a lot of grappling. I mean, unless he gets it there, and Tyron probably felt like, well, he's not going to be able to.
And Nate doesn't really do that, right?
Right. He kind of wants to throw hands anyway. So, anyway, my point is it wasn't the most it didn't appear to be the worst labrum tear out there. But either way, he decided to get a surgery and get it done, and everything sounded, because I also listened to the Hollywood Beat, the show that he has at TMZ, and everything sounded like, hey, I'm getting really close, and then I can take any fight booking, won't matter who it will be. And so if there was maybe a setback, then perhaps the UFC decided to do this, or if if all of a sudden there was a clash of heads between the big bosses, the Suits, and Tyron Woodley, then maybe this is their way of saying, well, then we're just moving on. The same way they're doing with Conor McGregor. Although Conor McGregor had an 18-month leash, Tyron Woodley fought, last July? That was his last fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about an 8-month leash, excuse me. So it's interesting, I mean, we can speculate and figure it out, but hopefully the champ makes some sort of a statement. I know he will. He's pretty vocal.
He's live right now on his Twitter.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe
tap it.
Tune it in. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what it says. Can we hear it?
We're gonna get them some food. Let them maybe eat some pizza.
Okay, he's not really discussing
MMA. Nope, maybe not. All right.
Those are all code names.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Food is probably RDA. Pizza's Colby. That's
there we go. That's probably what he's talking about.
I know he's going to be disappointed because he feels that he fought 4 times in 10 months, so he's been pretty active. And another strong point he makes is, I fight #1 contenders. He defeated Robbie Lawler to become the world champ. When he fought Wonder Boy and Maya, they were all #1 or #2 contenders, depending on what ranking system you saw. There was no the number 12 guy here or some guy that won a reality show. There wasn't any of that. He was fighting, and he had, again, the 4 fights in 10 months. So he was like, give me a pass. Just give me a little bit of a pass. Oh, yeah. Give me a little bit of a pass. Okay. And, we'll get to this. And then he'll have another series of fights. And I thought he deserved that. He did have one long spell before he became champ, but remember, Johnny Hendricks wasn't able to fight once in Houston.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the spell wouldn't have been as long. But regardless, you know, some people just are never going to be Tyron Woodley fans. That's the truth right there. So he's just going to get that hate. But at this point in time, I have to believe it's either injury or contract related, and we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I would guess too. I would imagine if it was injury, that would be released in the statement. But I skimmed through it just now, George, and I didn't see it there. And you know, so I got to imagine it wasn't something as simple as injury. You know, it seems kind of weird that. Again, I gotta read through again. I just briefly kind of skimmed through, but I didn't see anything that stated as to why Woodley can't step in. Now you could argue, you know. Dos Anjos and obviously Covington have their own detractors of people who feel they're worthy. But I guess if we were going to make in a perfect world, make an interim for whatever reason, let's just say Tyron can't include himself.
Right. Those do appear to be the fair names.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as much as I sympathize with Usman, I feel like Usman still needs that one more. Right.
Right. He needs a top 5 win.
Yes.
He hasn't gotten
that. That big
That's
win,
what Colby
yes.
got when he beat Maya.
Yes.
And it can't be Wonder Boy because he's
battling.
He's just got the 2 shots,
right.
and he's got an injury.
Yes, yeah.
So now we're left with Darren Till, Santiago Ponzinibbio's.
And they need them for regional shows in Chile and Liverpool, respectively. So you really can't mess with those guys, right? You can't grab them out of order.
Yes. They got streaks, they got credentials, but they don't have those top wins.
Yep.
But again, there he is. Goes. Oh, there's the general. Okay.
Nice reunion.
We were able to
going on
connect General Frost with Stitch Duran. Stitch Duran just came by, and they missed each other, but now they saw each other. A little reunion here.
It was a solid hug.
Yeah, from our trip down in Virginia. All right, so, folks, sorry about that. Big news, though, huge news, and we will see if we can somehow get the champ back on the show. We usually get him on once per quarter. I think we're due, and maybe get a little bit of a catch up and get his thoughts on this.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure he has something to share, and I'll be excited to hear what that is. But this was not, of all the shakeups we had, this was not it. And I thought they were already set for their main event. So would this now become a main event, even though it's an interim title, because it's, you know, or how does that work? Because this is for UFC 224. That's for Rio, and I believe Pennington and Nunes were set for that one. Correct? Boy, there's so many shows kind of.
Oh yeah, they didn't specify where it was. Sorry.
This is set for 224 in Rio as well.
Oh, wow.
So now
that's the part I missed. Okay.
You know,
that'll be the co-main, because I think the other one's already set. That's A, and B, this is for
an interim.
Whereas the other one's for the undisputed.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hierarchy they'll follow. Right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. And you
know, a lot of fighters really. I think only the superstars are the ones that have the ego that's big enough to say, "Hey, I walk out last." You know, a few of them have brought it up in the past.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one that I recall that didn't involve big names at the time, but it was a big deal. Do you remember when Heath Herring fought Brock Lesnar?
Yeah.
He did not like the fact that he walked out first to Brock, because he felt like, I'm an MMA guy, I'm more established.
Wow.
You know, and so that was 10 years ago. I think it was UFC 87.
But he did walk out like a pro wrestler guy with that leather duster.
That was slick, man.
I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, he's cool.
I
appreciate
have to say,
I agree with this point, man. He did a lot over at Pride Fighting Championships, and Brock was just, he was getting a lot of the red carpet treatment, and it didn't go off too well with a lot of fighters.
Yeah. That actually reminded me we're doing a top five UFC debuts for the next episode. And you're sparking some ideas of some UFC debuts now. But yeah, no, this is, it's good. I mean, Colby Covington, putting him, we were just talking about maybe for a Darren Till opponent. I mean, you want to put him in this kind of a market, right, where he's going to play the heel, whether it's Brazil, Liverpool, and say what you will about him, he's been consistently calling for his shot. He's been consistently calling for RDA. Heck, in the JBLE trip you were just referencing, he had a whole crowd of gang of people just getting behind him, and whatnot. So he's kind of been on that train for a while. And yeah. I mean, I've obviously made a case in an article I made previously about Rafael Dos Anjos deserving his shot at Tyron Woodley. So.
Photobombing their picture.
Yeah, no, me too. I did it too.
Wow, what a shocker! When we showed up today, if you would have told me, tell me 10 things that would shock you, I wouldn't have said that one.
No, man. This one.
I would have gone through a lot of things before I said, well, I wonder if they'll put Colby and RDA into an interim title. But how about hats off to Colby for that patience? He's been getting a lot of flack on the internet about, hey, enough already. You beat Maya, fight. You're just a Twitter guy.
Right.
And he was holding off to see what Tywan was going to do. And instead, now look at him. He's actually going to be competing for a world title. It is an interim. I get that. Right. But a lot of fighters still, man, to wear gold, it's still something. You know what I mean? And you could have a situation where, like Robert Whittaker, man, he won or Tony Ferguson, they won interim titles. And now one's the undisputed and one could be the undisputed. So that's not a matchup to not take serious.
Yeah, and like you said, guys controlling their careers. We talked about it in the show, right? You can go. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. You don't have to go full heel like Colby. You can be more of like a corny, and I say that in an endearing way, like a Sam Alvey. You know, you're able to kind of control where you go and get these opportunities. Sometimes they're even interim title opportunities.
How about that news?
Insane, right?
It is.
Dude,
I would not have expected that one, man. I really felt like Tyron was just probably close to having an announcement like, hey, I'll fight in August, I'll fight in September, but I got my final release from the doctor, and I'll start some training, and we'll get a camp underway.
Do you remember when we talked about all the antics that Colby's been going through and all that? We all said, as long as he gets what he wants, then it was the right move, right? It was worth it.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, and I was just telling Dan, you know, he probably could have taken a Till, Usman, Ponzinibbio matchup out there, but he kept waiting until they said it's Woodley versus Dos Anjos. I'm going to keep messing with the champ. Once they announced that, I think Colby Covington would have said, all right, who's next? And we kept saying, make sure you get on the same card as the champ. That way, in case there's a fall off, or in case all the fights go off, you're on the same timeline as the champ. You know, and I think that's what he was doing. But now that Woodley seems to be the piece that's missing, he's now mixed in there with Dos Anjos. And they've kind of built up a little bit of friction, social media friction. So I think they'll have a nice build-up. It'll be in Dos Anjos' crib in Rio de Janeiro, and we're gonna have ourselves a fight, folks.
And it's and I think this takes us up to a par. You know, the not par, but it sounds mean, but you know, this takes us up to the standard level of pay-per-view, because before, especially with the way pay-per-views have been going, if they would have told us the Pennington and Nunes would have been the only title fight on there, I would have been all right. That's par for the course with the way things have been going lately, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this. It's funny. You almost want to say extra, depending on what viewing glass you're using. If you're using current viewing glass, but if we're using the overall viewing glass, then we're a full running pay-per-view.
By the way, early on, who do you like? Give me a name. No, give me a name. I'll give you a name and a sentence.
A name and a sentence?
Yeah, don't give me a paragraph.
Okay. Best fighter shows up. Best version of them. Give me Colby Covington.
Dan Tom.
Boy, this is tough. I have it as a pick 'em odds in my head. I was actually thinking the same question myself when it listed upwards. But I'm gonna think that the odds are gonna lean toward Dos Anjos, but and I think it's only gonna grow more though because of that, because of the people don't seem to like Colby Covington, right? So that's gonna play into the odds. So I actually see Colby Covington going to be not just a dog, but he's gonna be probably a growing dog on the number side. That says he's got all the tools to spoil Dos Anjos. So, you know, as far as making size wrestling a reality, I spoke on Dos Anjos' improvements, and you can actually look at his career. So he's not the same guy when he fought Khabib. I know people like to hold on to that image in their head, especially when Dos Anjos first made the welterweight move. But
that's quite a sentence, Dan.
What's that? I was gonna say he trumped my sentence.
Okay.
No, he said, "Give me a name and a sentence." You gave me
sorry.
about
I gave you a
paragraph.
Sorry,
so
no
you're leaning towards Covington or RDA?
Personally, I'm leaning toward. I would give a slight lean toward Covington, but I think RDA is going to be the deserved favorite.
Right. So, bias aside, RDA is more complete.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why
but
it's the deserved favorite.
Covington, you know, if he can get Maya down,
you're going to need that.
For what?
In case Colby comes by.
If he can get Maya down,
I said I'm leaning toward
he
him.
will be able to get RDA down, and if he can. I don't think RDA poses any more danger than going to the ground with Maya, and he was able to handle that.
Yes.
So he definitely has a path to victory there.
Yes.
Now, that fight was a few months ago, so I'm sure Covington's striking's gotten better. But is it enough to close the gap on RDA? I don't know. But if he sticks to just wrestling, I think he has a shot, because his ground and pound was really, really – I was impressed against a guy like Maya, because a lot of guys don't take chances, and he was able to do it. And and hurt Maya pretty good. So I'll have to ride with Covington on this one.
And people are going to point to the Maya fight, and they still do like, oh, he got outstruck by a 40-year-old jiu-jitsu guy. Same people who, by the way, are Maya fans, or will selectively use that statement to kind of criticize that performance. And yeah, he got caught up in this, but what I will say is that he was making a decision. He was making a decision. I'm going to defend shots, and I'm not. I'm going to be in a counter wrestling. He had to do a complete different game plan than Colby Covington's used to doing.
Throwing off his back foot every single time because he was prepping for that shot.
And that's discipline. Just like the discipline as bettors, we talk about betting on wrestlers for that offense because it's consistent offense. It's going to lower their percentages of getting hit. He was able to do that in the reverse, whereas this fight he won't have to do that. This fight he can go right back to his old game plan. In fact, the matchup's going to call for it. That's the best way to attack Dos Anjos for him is pressure and wrestling. So now Colby Covington can actually return to his strengths. He won't have to rely on sacrificing strikes to worry about a takedown. That's not going to.
If he can't get the takedown, though, he's in trouble. I think we'd all agree.
I think so.
Really
yes.
Built up an arsenal of strikes. The leg kicks for starters.
Yeah.
Whether he's kicking the calf, whether he's kicking the leg, he throws hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there was times when he was out striking Lawler. I think even Colby would recognize that. But see, Colby doesn't have that ego of, well, no, I'm more well-rounded. I'm going to prove. Colby sticks to what he knows, and that's what makes him dangerous.
5-round fight too, which I think favors Dos Anjos. Now kind of takes that out because even if Colby is able to successfully wrestle him early, now you got to say, okay, well, if you don't finish him, can you do that for 5 rounds?
Right. Let's talk to Oreo in Alberta, Canada. What's up, Oreo?
Hey guys, how are you?
What's up, man?
Hey. So you guys are talking to Claxton later on today?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. I don't know. We're like 0 for 2, but that's the plan.
Yep, knocking on wood.
Okay. Could you just ask him a question for me, please?
Yeah.
Who's going to remember it? Because I don't have anything to write down.
I remember it.
All right.
Okay, so before he got signed to Bellator, the way he was trying to get into Bellator was to challenge Pico.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously now he's in Bellator, he's on a good run. Does he still want that Pico fight? I mean, because that's what he wanted at the beginning. Does he still want that, or is he past Pico?
That's a good question.
He had some harsh words for Aaron early on.
Yeah, he's been active on social media about it. And I'll tell you what, I don't want to see it because just like we talked about Lewis and Ngannou, hey, do we want it now or do we want it later? I want to preserve that one for later. Let both guys grow and make it a bigger fight for them and for Bellator. So I'd actually be against it personally.
Well, they both, because Aaron can talk a game too, so they can build that up. But even when you go and look at their highlight reels, right, that devastating knockout Aaron, and then the flying knee, I mean, that sells itself.
Yeah.
But you're right. Maybe a year from now,
I think so.
Might be the peak place to have it.
Especially since Pico even Pico as talented as he is, we saw him have that close call, and we see when these younger guys, you can get some devastating losses in the sport.
I mean, neither guy's got half a dozen fights. You know?
Yeah.
So let's say Paramount tells Bellator, hey, this is your last year, then I think Bellator needs to shove all their chips in, and I'd welcome the matchup.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the plan, so I think that'll let that marinate a little bit. Anything else, Oreo?
Yeah. So, so you guys are saying how RDA and Colby's probably going to be for the interim title, but does Woodley have anything to say about that? Because I thought he was coming back in July, or July.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying a second ago. That's what we thought, Oreo, that he was getting close to being cleared, to start a training camp. But it's either going to be that issue, or maybe he had certain demands, and the UFC, thought otherwise, and all of a sudden there's friction, and the UFC decides to send a message, and that they're going to move on, similar to what they're doing with Conor McGregor. We discussed that about 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah, but I guess so. But yeah, it just sucks because I'm a Woodley fan, and I feel like he's been a company guy. He's been fighting a lot, and it's just for him to be disrespected like that, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. But
let's wait to find out the reason, because if he had a setback with the shoulder, then I guess that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because even if he took a fight right now, they're already booking Chicago, they're already booking Rio de Janeiro. And so if we get into July, that would be one whole year. And I don't think anyone's had a problem with that in the past. If you reach a year.
But it's a little rough with Tywan because he fought super frequently right before that.
He did, yeah.
So in a way, if anybody's ever gonna say, yeah, I get the 1 year, but it's me,
right?
He might be. Even Conor could probably have that play for a little while.
So we'll see. We'll wait and see. We'll see if he makes a statement or if the UFC makes a statement.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, bud. We got to move on. All right. Let's go to Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Hey, Marco from Waco, brother. ¿Qué pasa, Atos?
¿Qué te pasa, man?
Hey,
This
what's up, Marco?
is my theory in this Tyron Goodley thing. I think he just got boxed in, you know, like a little check. Because I'm just speculating whether they offered the fight to Tyron Goodley first for Rio or not. He said no, or he wanted to fight in July, or he wanted to have a super fight. Whatever the reason, they said, okay, Cody and RDA are going to fight for the interim, and guess what? Your next fight is going to be either Cody or RDA and nobody else, and it's not going to be in July because this guy won't be ready for July because they're fighting in May, so it's going to be probably August or September. So I think it's a little bit of a check yourself, Tyron Woodley. I'm okay with the fight, you know. It's basically a definite number one contender, and it's making that Rio card super, super exciting now. That is just my opinion. What you got, guys? Peace out.
All right, see ya. It could be many things, man.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those two, I believe. Just the injury hasn't healed, or they weren't able to come to terms, and they said, well, then I'll tell you what, you just continue to sit on ice while we move on with the division. Now, that's just a threat. They didn't strip them all together. That would mean that they're really, really, bumping heads.
That's where you don't see them on Fox. You don't see anything.
Right. So I just think that this is just a posturing. This is what we're going to do if you don't agree, and, they reach a standstill, and then the organization moves on. Now, somebody said, it was either Oreo or Marco said, the guy's been a company guy. Yeah, I see that. He has. He always speaks well of the UFC. He's a well-represented champion. He does a lot of stuff in his community, for his family. But at the same time, he's always seems to be negotiating or, I mean, for one, you've seen, like, lately him and Dana White just they clash, And so we may think that they squash beefs, but egos like that, it could be a handshake. Okay, we'll be friends. But then as soon as they walk out of the office, the other one says, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? And when I get a chance to screw them or screw him or screw her or whatever, I will. And it could be that. But see, all this is speculation, and I don't want to continue with the speculation if we don't know what's really up. We could get some answers, later today. Oh. Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's your time.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man?
What up?
What up? Hey, I actually like this matchup. I want RDA in my boy Gigi's words. I want him to smoke this fool. Shut his big ass mouth up. Let him go down and let one of those other young killers get their hands on him. He basically talked his way into this title shot anyway. So if both of them at the top of their game, I like RDA to beat him up real bad, real bad. That's what I want to see.
It appears you're
just
not
like
a fan
you guys
of
are
Colby
saying.
Covington.
Guess, take a wild
Nah,
guess.
I don't like him. I hate Colby Covington.
Hey,
That's
look,
what the new.
I hear you, man. He's not everybody's cup of tea.
I hear you too, Showtime.
Yeah.
He can rub people the wrong way. But the one thing I'll disagree with is he didn't talk his way into a title shot. He beat enough people. I think we've said it many times. He's 8-1 as a welterweight. And the one thing that was missing from his resume was that top-notch contender win. And he got it with Damian Maia. You know what I mean? So I don't think he talked his way in.
Oh yeah.
I think he just talks a lot. Is what one could say.
Yeah, I don't care for him too much, but just the fight I want to see him again. I want to see him if he beat RDA. Okay, then bam, give him Whitney. Let's see if he can get past this. If he can get past RDA, he deserved to get a shot at the title. But I just really don't think he will. I mean, I was looking at his game, and I just think RDA can exploit it.
Well,
he got to get RDA down early and try to beat him up like that.
Yeah. So even though he's not going to like there being an interim title out there, the good thing for him is he doesn't have to fight both guys. And I don't. And here's why. Not to say he fears either guy. It's just this guy's kind of like in that money fight stage. So he'll probably have to fight one and then hope a GSP or a Diaz brother or a Bisping or somebody wants to fight so that he can cash a big check. Yeah,
I mean, but look at it though, guys. We got to look at this too, man. T. Wood is not a lot of people probably think T. Wood is a lot younger than what he is, but he's not. He's not 25 years old, 26 years old. He's going back to Strikeforce. He put in work, so I can see him feeling obligated for them to give him a money fight. They basically let these other guys cash in on the money fight. Let him cash in on one too. So I feel him on that. But either way it go, hey, have they announced where this card's gonna be at?
Rio de Janeiro, UFC 224.
Rio. Oh yeah, they sending him into their runners nest, so they can goddamn cuss him out and tell him they're gonna kill him. He gonna die. So it's all good.
All right, my man. Thanks for the call. All right, we got to take a break. We've got to be on time with our guests. Jose from Cali will try and sneak you in here, but right now we got to take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM. Rush 93, stay close, and we'll be back. We'll be talking to Devon Brock and Taiwan Claxton back to back.
Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device, and then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel. And you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. All right, we finally got him. We tried 2 days in a row. First time it was our bad. The second time was, we'll share the blame. He had a wrestling practice that went a little long, and we just weren't able to connect. And we could have probably brought him in for 5 minutes yesterday, but I don't want to do that with somebody we've never met. I want to, be able to chill a little bit and get to know the fighter. Yeah. His name is Devon Brock. He'll be fighting at Bellator 197, and he'll be fighting Kevin Ferguson Jr. So the spin here that I've been telling you all about is he fought Royce Gracie's son, and now he's fighting Kimbo Slice's son. So how about that? He's on a Legend Son whoop-ass tour. Let's bring him on. What's up, Devin? How you doing?
Hey, it's going good, man. What's up?
What's up, man? We're finally able to connect. Sorry about the phone troubles on Tuesday.
Sorry about it yesterday.
It's all right, man. So you're on a Legend Son whoop-ass tour, it appears, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm on that tour right now.
How do you treat that? Do you think that maybe, I'm sure they have a little bit of influence. You think Bellator has been using you to maybe get them over and you've kind of spoiled the party? Or is it just a matter of, hey, look, there's only a certain amount of guys per weight class and this is just the way things work out?
Man, honestly, I don't know. I choose not to even look at it that way. I just look at it as just another opponent.
Mm-hmm. All right. You did beat Royce Gracie's son, and, was it any extra special that it was the son of a legend, or anything like that? Or are you really, like, that laser focused that, again, it's just another athlete you're competing against?
Of course, out of respect, it was a lot. It was actually an amazing experience. You know what I'm saying? It was something out of only doing this for a year. It was something a real big, I guess you could say, accolade I could add. So I was really excited about it. Just finding out that, hey, I'm going to fight Royce Gracie's son, and then on top of that, beating Royce Gracie's son, it was a wonderful experience. I don't know, man. It was an unexplainable experience, unexplainable feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's not like you can even say, well, it was in his backyard because, they come from the South Bay, but you're from L.A. as well. It was just two guys making their debut, fighting, and it just so happened that that's the way it worked out. But I thought it was not fishy, but I just thought, wow, what a coincidence. Now he's got another guy ahead of him in Kevin Ferguson Jr. What's going on here? But it doesn't seem like you're thinking as much into it as I am. So tell me a little bit about your matchup with Kevin Ferguson Jr. How do you dissect this guy?
Pretty much, just going over film, keying on the weaknesses, keying on just, different little things, just practicing. Just, like I said, pretty much going up in there, just knowing that he's human, just like I'm human at the end of the day, and he's just another opponent.
So we've been doing this show for about 10 years. We just started our 11th, or we're close to it. And it's funny because now I can't really – oh, thank you, sir. I can't really say, hey, man, do you plan on bringing your wrestling against his jiu-jitsu or your boxing against his Muay Thai? All of you young cats are well-rounded mixed martial artists. So I got to ask you, what out of all the mixed martial arts tools you got, what are your strengths? What do you feel like are your strengths, and what would you like to shore up? I won't call it a weakness, just what are you less effective at?
Pretty much, I practice on being a well-rounded fighter. So pretty much, I guess I like to stand. Pretty much, but I have no problem with going anywhere else, taking it to anywhere else.
What are the gyms you train at? Who are your coaches and training partners?
The Movement Boxing Gym, Coach James down there, and I've been working with Coach Ren out of Fast Twitch down at Black House MMA.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are my guys right now that I've been working with. Coach James, he's an amazing coach right there. He's He's actually coached Albert Morales, UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coached a lot of guys around here. That's a good guy right there. He knows what he's doing. He's my head coach right there, Coach James out of the movement.
You're in a boxing gym.
Down in Hart.
Do you have a boxing background, or does that just where it happens that you practice?
No, actually, my brother, he's a boxer.
Oh.
He actually brought me in on this. Like I said, I started February the 3rd training overall of last year. And I just came in and I just wanted to fight. And Coach introduced me to this, and then I just jumped in.
What made your brother? What made your brother think that you had what it took to be a mixed martial artist? Just your athleticism, or were you a street fighter growing up? Like, what made him think, hey, you can do this and take to it so quickly?
Yeah, a lot of street fights. Yeah, I'm gonna say, so I've had an exciting past, basically. A lot of street fights, a lot of street fights, school fights. You know, growing up here in Compton, you know, it gets a little hectic. You gotta know how to hold your own here. And
right.
Actually living up north also, yeah.
Devon, that past you talked about, is it a troubled past, or was it just the kind of trouble that boys get into and that's it?
Pretty much, yeah, you could say that trouble that pretty much boys get into.
Okay.
I pretty much think that every man has ran across a situation to where they had to hold their own.
Right.
And so sometimes it just turns for the worse. Sometimes it, works out for you.
All right. Well, that's cool. Your brother recognized the talent, and now you're getting down. You went 5-0 as an amateur. You're 1-0 as a pro, and now you got your next fight coming up. Looks like things have turned around. So I applaud you for that. Let me turn it over to my co-host here, Goes. He's got a couple questions for you. Goes, what do you have for Devon Brock?
Devon, we've seen what you can do in the cage. How about outside the cage, the lead up to the fight? When you come across Kevin before the fight, is there a piece of you, like, what is it that you like? Would you like for him to kind of get in your face and make this a little personal? Do you like it when guys are just a little bit more reserved? Well, what do you fancy?
I don't care. As long as nobody touch me, I stay respectful.
Is that when the Compton comes out?
Pretty much There's nothing pretty much gotta like get under my skin or anything. I feel like pretty much I've had my go around and shares a fight pretty much just like he has, I'm pretty sure. Nothing really, no words or anything like that can really just jump under my skin or, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, this was just in the beginning, during the amateur, it was just fighting. And now, as you guys know, I'm a pro, and now it's a job. So yeah, there's nothing. I mean, you can do whatever you like. That's on him. That's his character.
Devon, you're from Compton. George and I, we grew up in Santa Ana, California. That's in Orange County. When we say the mean streets of Santa Ana, do you roll your eyes or you kind of give us a fist bump?
Out of respect, I'll give everybody a fist bump. Because I don't know.
What if somebody said the mean streets of Irvine? We know that nothing's happening out there.
Yeah, we didn't say Newport Beach, man. Santa Ana's got some cred, dog.
Give us a little bit. Come on. You didn't see that car that flew through that building the other day? That kind of shit goes down in Santa
Ana. Oh, damn. I don't want to be out there, huh?
All right, Devon, so let me ask you.
I'll tell you another thing. Your high school football team does not want to go head on with mine. I'll tell you that much, man. The mean streets of Santa Ana is where modern-day high school is, and we were the #1 team in the nation last year.
Oh, that was last year, man.
Well, it's the most current. It's the most current year. It was just 2 months ago.
Can you imagine after Devon's win, we go, oh, that was yesterday, Devon. Enough already. Hey, Devon, now I know George touched on it a little bit earlier, and he was talking about the fact that these are legend sons. A victory here, I know you don't really think too much about it, but say a victory here, and Bellator gave you that option of going after another legend son. Would that be something that would interest you? Like, do you kind of like to play that up?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'll be fun.
Man, go ahead, Devin.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I appreciate your attitude, man, because my limited fight experience as far as MMA goes, my one MMA fight was against maybe not a legend, but definitely a notable name, Marvin Eastman's son, except I just got washed for 3 rounds, man. So you did the opposite in your last fight. You won for 3 rounds. But so I let me just say I appreciate that and semi-live vicariously through you, sir. So props to you on that.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it a whole lot, man.
Hey, but no worries. But being honest here, you actually surprised me with something you said. You said you've only been training since February of last year. Now, if you go look on your amateur record, the first fight listed is against Joseph Robinson in May of last year, and that's actually one of the fights of yours that I actually watched all the way through. And I was so impressed because it was the first fight that I pulled up on you, to be honest, when the beginning of the week came about. And I was like, man, this kid is well-rounded. He's very composed. He got taken down a couple times, maybe put in some precarious spots, knew how to get up, got right back to fighting. I mean, give yourself a bit of credit. I mean, I got to imagine your brother had to have seen some of that, right, to get you in there so early?
Yeah. I've been in quite a few situations, like out on the streets to where, I guess a phrase we use out here is called getting tricky, to where it's gotten pretty tricky to where I've had to get myself up out of. Pretty much me and my brother, we've had our share of experiences too. He was the one on top of me a whole lot, where I've had to get up off of him, or he's had to try to get him up off of me. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's seen a lot of talent in me. He's always pushed me. He's always there, even when I'm like felt down about some things, man. He's. Let me tell you a funny story. A funny story. You probably won't think it's that funny. I was in a fight when I was younger. Where actually a friend of mine. And in the middle of the fight, the whole fight, I kept saying, like, I don't want to fight. Like, the guy, we fought, like, so many times before. We fought at school. We fought here in our apartments and everything, all around the neighborhood. And this day, like, the kids around us, our friends, were just like, hey, so who won the last fight? And I said me, and he said him. And he was just like, man, if you say you won, I'm going to hit you in your jaw. And I said, I won. And so he followed up with what he said. And so he hit me. And so, we're fighting, and that whole fight, I'm telling him I don't want to fight him, but I'm on top of him, I'm hitting him, and I'm letting him get back up. But I'm telling him, I'm just talking like I don't want to fight him. My brother's yelling and screaming like, man, get him, beat him up, beat his ass, you know what I'm saying? And so he was bigger than me, and he's trying to choke me, and I'm still yelling, I don't want to fight you and everything. And my brother jumps in, and he socks me out of all people.
What the hell? I didn't see that turn coming. Why'd he hit you?
Well, because, like, out of explaining it to me, I mean, he's just, basically, like I said, I'm beating this kid up the whole fight. And it's just like, he's just like, wow, what are you doing? You're like letting him, at that time, he started choking me. And at this time, I'm like, my hands are down, and I'm like, I don't feel like I was in danger, but you know what I'm saying? He just felt like I was embarrassing. I don't know, like I wasn't doing what I knew how to do, basically, at the end of the day. And it was just, I don't know, a little funny thing we be joking about, like.
Well, that's all in the past. Right now, he's doing his thing in boxing. You're doing your thing in MMA. And it's been great to know you. I'm glad Coach James hooked us up. Hopefully we can have you on some more in the future. But we look forward to your fight at Bellator 197 versus Kevin Ferguson Jr. Thanks for the time, Devin. I'm glad we were able to connect. And if you're ever in Vegas, please stop on by the Mandalay Bay. We love street fight stories. We'd love to hear some more of them. We'd love to get to know you better. So give us a holler if you're ever in Sin City, all right?
Oh, sounds good. I'll actually be out there pretty soon.
All right. Good. All right, let's do it, man. Thanks for the time, man.
Nice talking to you guys.
All right,
Thank
you too. See ya.
Appreciate it.
Oh, wait. Devin, you there? Oh, we lost him. Jose,
looks like he just hung up.
Damn it. Ah, fuck. Sorry, Jose. Let's bring in Jose for a second. Jose, I'm so sorry, man. You wanted to say something to Devin. My bad, dude. I ruined it.
Yeah, man. You guys did me dirty. It's all good, though. I got his
Sorry.
number. I'll talk to him. I'm just
Okay.
making sure. I just wanted to tell him. Hopefully he's still listening. Bro, if there's a will, there's a way, bro. Remember that Rumble in high school in Pioneer? come on, bro. I know you got hands, but goddamn.
Yeah,
Timber
yeah,
slices,
about
son.
that.
Bro, you gotta get that
You
dub.
were at that brawl with you and him at Pioneer High School?
Yeah, well, because like somebody ran up on Devin. I mean, Devin's a cool dude, and he keeps his composure. And this man was like, I honestly, I wanted to say he was at least 6 something. He's a big Mexican dude, and he just gave him one. He dropped, and then everybody just rushed to the middle of the pantry, and we just started rumbling. You know what I'm saying?
You were on Devin's side or the other guy's side?
Obviously, Devin's side. You know what I'm saying? He's the homie.
Oh, okay.
I think he moved.
Well, because you're
from LA.
Jose, and sometimes the Mexicans stick together. But I'm glad you were.
No.
Okay. See, that's why I had some apprehensions.
Yeah, I ain't racist.
I know, I get that, but this is the first
My
time
roommate is white. My other roommate is black.
He's an equal opportunity street fighter, George.
Okay, I got it. My bad. No, you know what?
No, you're good.
We had never really talked to you or him, and I wasn't sure what the setting was, and that was why I was apprehensive.
Oh,
but
no.
Devin said he was down, and I blew it. I just didn't get him on time, but yeah, I'll let him know to listen to the archive, and maybe he'll hear your voice and remember that throwdown at Pioneer High.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, like, I know. I don't know if you noticed the way he talks and keeps his composure. Like, he is very confident within himself. And it doesn't matter what you do. If it's a physical sport, it's politics. It can be anything in this world. If you do not have self-confidence, you will not accomplish the goal.
Well, check it out, man.
But at the
He
same time,
he says he'll be in Vegas soon, and when he does, call in, and we'll all chop it up and have a good laugh. All right?
Oh yeah, big fact.
All right,
I just really hope that this man, like, this is a big fight for him. I hope he wins. I really do.
Yeah, it is. It's a good name for him. You know, it's a big fight for Kevin Ferguson Jr. too. So
it just kind of sucks for the, for example, how you guys mentioned his last fight. Those two kids, they have a lot of expectation to maintain. You know what I mean? Because their dads are like legit legends. Like, you Google them, the first thing that pops up is them. You know?
Right.
And
No, I got you.
Devin has more of a lenient because the sky is the limit. There is no expectation. There is no bar. He sets his own bar.
Yeah. All right, boss. Thanks for the call. We got to move on. We appreciate you, though.
All right, you have a good
Talk
day.
to you soon. All right. See you, Jose. Got to have some love for the guy from Cali. I ruined it, though. Yeah, he would have had a moment there with his buddy who's now fighting in mixed martial arts. All right, that was Devon Brock. Coming up will be Taiwan Claxton. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Sirius XM Rush 93. Don't touch that dial.
Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes? Thank you.
All right, we're just going to get right into it here because we're coming up against the clock. We are going to do a few minutes of overtime. And now we are going to be talking to Taiwan Speedy Claxton, 25 years of age, 2-0 in mixed martial arts, arguably a KO of the year in 2017, followed up with an impressive performance over Jose Perez at Bellator 194. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Taiwan? Good to hear from you again, man.
You guys, how are you? How you been?
Good. How about you?
I'm living the dream, man. Back in Ohio, just left Colorado, getting some training in with the Jet Setter Banks and Justin Gaethje.
Ah, that's a good group right there. All right, cool. How are your lungs doing? You were probably training at altitude, right?
I was training at altitude, and it was rough, but I adapted after a couple of weeks, and I'm ready to get back after it and get back in the cage.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you're anxious. You want to get a few fights in 2018, and even though you won, it seemed like you had still a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth in the Perez win. But I think you were a little hard on yourself. Nothing's going to measure up to that first KO. The fact that you went out there and just got another win and put in some work, good stuff, my man. Hopefully you've been able to revisit that, look at the you look at the fight, the replays of the fight, and I guess be more proud of the work that you did do versus what you felt like you didn't do. Oh, he's gone.
Looks like he just dropped. Yeah.
Boy, these are the toughest guys to ever book, right?
Well, that only leaves us with a couple minutes left in the show, so I guess we should probably just get through the end, and then hopefully we can reconnect with Taiwan in overtime, right?
We can, yeah.
All right.
Or we can sneak in the daily debate as well.
Could always do that.
Yeah. Do we have time, guys?
I don't know that we do.
So then we're not going to do it. Let's just stay quiet and do nothing.
All right. I have it queued up in case you guys want to do it.
Fuck it. Let's do it. All right. Today's daily debate. The topic of MMA fighter unionization has been around for a while, but it has picked up steam in the recent years. Right now the right time for a fighters union in MMA. 613 people voted. 85% said yes. 15% no. What do you think, guys?
It's always the right time to do it. The question is, do you have the heads to do it, okay? And what I mean by the heads are the people at the top, the ones that make the most money, they are the ones that will dictate how this goes. If they're willing to put their foot down, then everything else can fall in line. But if they're not, then there's just nowhere to go with this.
I'm going to say a little name out there that creeps people out, Bjorn Rebney. However, he is a former lawyer, and he was the head honcho of the #2 organization in MMA, Bellator. The one thing he said was, regardless of however this pans out, meaning the organization he was a part of, the name escapes me right now, I apologize. He said whatever the fighters need to do going forward, do an association, not a union. So if we're going to go word for word here, a form of unionization is an association. By all means, do that. He felt like that's the best path for the fighters to get together. They're not employees, so they can't be part of a union. But I just don't think it's realistic, and I don't think it'll happen in the next 5 years just because these fighters are so individual. How about you, Dan?
I hope something happens. I have mixed feelings about a union coming from the construction field, but these fighters need all the help they can right now. We don't like seeing these guys show up only getting their show money, not their win money, not having their seats at the proverbial table. I would like to see that change. I know it's a hard thing to change, but I think a union would be a lesser evil than others, especially if it's one ran for and by the fighters.
Yeah, and to be clear, I do want them to have this eventually. I just, again, feel like in getting to know all these individual personalities, I don't see it happening. Like Ghost, it has to come from the top, or maybe two powerful teams get together, and maybe the wheels will be in motion. But we'll see. I've been wrong before many a times. That's our daily debate to you, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. And what we're going to do now is we are going to leave the show, the live version of the show with SiriusXM. You are going to get more combat sports and entertainment headed your way. The rest of you, why don't you head on over to Facebook. It's facebook.com/official MMA Junkie or youtube.com/MMA Junkie Video. We're going to continue our interview with Taiwan Claxton, We're going to do a little bit of overtime. So stay close. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
Waiting out there, they're all living the devil may care, and I'm just a devil with love to spare. So Viva Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. How I wish that there were more than 24 hours in the day. Even if there were 40 more, I wouldn't sleep a minute away. Oh, there's blackjack and poker and the roulette wheel. A fortune.
You guys clear for overtime?
All right, we're going to continue here with Taiwan Claxton. He's back. What's going on, Taiwan? We lost you there. Sorry there.
Oh, all good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, so now you're settling back with Ohio. But one thing I want to straighten out is, are you going to be back with Strong Style? Will you still go back to Florida from time to time, or is Colorado your new home?
Well, wherever Neil Melanson is my new home. So definitely Colorado. I'll be doing all of my camps in Colorado. And, you know, I have my striking coach here in Ohio. And I have Bill in Colorado. So while I'm home, I'll be predominantly training, you know, just kind of independently with my striking coach and doing my own thing. And then when I'm getting ready to fight, I'll be in Colorado with the boys getting ready, the Filthy Few.
Were you able to catch a replay of your fight? I know you were a little hard on yourself because the first time was such a incredible finish, and the second time, even though it was a finish, even though you got the win, it seemed like you had a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth.
So I actually went and finally convinced myself to rewatch that fight, and I beat the brakes off that dude, you know. So at first I was upset because I feel like I didn't give myself a chance for my stand-up to develop throughout the fight, and I just went the easier path of wrestling. But you know, I didn't lay in prayer or anything like that. So after rewatching the fight, I feel like you know, the fans still got what they came to see. They came to see me attempt to fly a knee. They got that, and they came to see me win and dominate, and they got that. So, you know, I'm actually pretty okay and pretty excited about that last fight now.
That's good to hear. I mean, your journey's just started. You know what I mean? So far, I mean, 2-0, finishes. You got the highlight reel. You're off to a good start, my man. Who do you want to fight in your third fight? I know you're anxious to get in there.
You know what? I want to fight, you know, an AJ McKee. I want to fight Pico. I want to fight Gallagher. I want to fight Pitbull. But, you know, I had a talk with Mike Hogan, and he pretty much just said, you know, let's just keep moving in the right direction, and let's just keep moving in the right direction and to take baby steps, which I get part of it. You know, it's like when you first meet a new girl, you don't just go up to her and say, hey, I think you're cute, I want to bang. You know, you got to romance her and dance around a little bit. And, you know, it's an investment, you know, and those guys are looking at me like an investment, and they're also looking at like the Picos and the McKees and the Gallaghers as investments. And so, you know, they don't want me, pretty much those guys don't want me to fight them right now, or those guys are just turning down the fight. One way or another, I don't really know what it is, but it seems as if there's nobody really in the division that wants to step up and fight me, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, man, I get what you're saying. That is a weird line to say to a girl. No, I'm just kidding. I've struck out with that line many times. So, okay, no, that's good. That's good. You're taking it slow, and I think you're right. Build towards these fights. It's not like you have any fear of losing. You know, I think the other guys will still be there, and let's not rush it. I mean, unless you were one of those guys that felt like, hey, you know what, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and I want to start those studies by age 30, so I got to get out of here in 5 years. But, you know, this seems to be like your profession of choice, where you'll be for a long time. So organically, these big fights will come your way.
Yeah, absolutely, but you know, a lot of people say, "Oh man, you're just getting started. You're just getting started." But if you were a fly in the wall on that Black Zillion's wall in Florida, man, I'm not just getting started. I fight better with better competition. That's just how I am. I'm a competitor. But, like I said, at the end of the day, if you were a fly on that wall, you would expect greatness from me, and you wouldn't expect anything less than that. People got a little bit of, what I'm capable of doing my first fight, and they saw a little bit of what I'm capable of doing my second fight, as far as just being able to take a guy down and blend my punches into my takedowns. But, guys really don't have any idea, and that's one thing that kind of why I was a little frustrated after my fight, because I know, everybody close to me knows, people that I've trained with know, and I think it's going to take something like one of those fights like a Pico or a Gallagher or a McKee to really bring it out of me, or, so that people can really see exactly what I can do to the top level guys, no matter what organization or what weight class, if it's featherweight, lightweight, either one of those, it's it's a storm, man, and it's just brewing, and it's going to happen, but I would like it to happen sooner rather than later.
Taiwan, I don't know if I should ask this or not, but let me ask you a question. Would you rather fight McKee for 50 grand or a tomato can for 100 grand?
I'll beat McKee up for 50 grand.
Oh, wow. This guy's serious then. I thought subtly he was trying to give us this whole McKee, Gallagher thing, but in reality he just wants the big fights because he wants to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I like to dissect through these things. That's why I asked him that trick question. He answered me right. He really does want the big names. This is a competitor we have, folks, on the hotline.
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned Neil Melanson. That's a coach, I'm sure listeners are familiar with that I've shared. He's been on this program before. And he's one of those guys, when Neil gives a compliment, he means it. And Neil spoke very highly of you, Taiwan. Now, I can speak from experience. He's an infectious guy. I love having that voice in my corner. I feel like I could beat anybody with Neil's voice in my corner. So when you have a guy like Neil Melanson, who's trained guys all the way going back to Vitor Belfort, Randy Couture, when he's putting those high praises on you, is that where these high expectations of yourself is also coming from?
I mean, I've always had high expectations for myself. Neil never puts any pressure on me or anything of that nature.
Right.
He always tells me you're going to be a world champion, and I believe him, and I want to be a world champion, and I just know that, under the right circumstances, I will be a world champion. And, I sit here and I watch. When you think about Bellator, there's no superstar in Bellator. There's no superstar. No matter what you say, they're bringing these guys over from the UFC, but how long can these old guys fight? You know what I mean? There's no disrespect to the veterans in the sport or anything of that nature, but, how long can these guys realistically fight? I'm 25 years old. I'm 2-0. I'm ready to go. I'm not afraid to fight the bigger names. You got guys like McKee and Gallagher calling each other out, and they're not fighting. Like, come on, man. Are we gladiators or not? That's what it comes down to. I'll run my mouth, I'll talk shit, and if somebody said, let's fight, guess what? I would not hesitate to sign on the dotted line. That's not a problem for me. And they don't have that. You can't teach that, and you can't build it.
Are we gladiators or not? I like
that.
Some of those names were regional names, so you're telling me if they were to give you a, let's say, like, obviously Gallagher has his injury issue, but, let's just use him for an example. He's big in the European scene. You wouldn't mind going over to a European show, for example, and going in there and playing that role, getting the crowd up?
What name did you say? I didn't even hear the name.
I just use Gallagher for an example because, some of these guys have regional ties, so they have big fan bases. So, it'd be a good opportunity to put the shows on that you're talking about. So I was asking, would you mind having to play that role if they gave you a big fight where you have to maybe go into some enemy territory, or does that excite you, Taiwan?
It's what I thrive in. It's what I thrive in. So if you want me to go overseas and fight somebody, I'm down to do it. I was trying to get on the London card. I'm completely healthy, so I was trying to get on the London card, and I'll go over there and fight somebody. I see that they scratched, Borks and Gallagher. I would have went to Hungary and fought Borks. Whoever they have, I want to beat. Whoever they're promoting more than me, I want to beat. Whoever they have ranked higher than me, I want to beat. So with that being said, I'm willing to take any fight. You know, I want to make it happen. I understand the baby steps. I get it. But, you know, I stopped sucking on my mother's titty when I moved down to Florida and joined the Black Billions, and I'm planning on going back.
Taiwan Claxton on the air here, joining us here on MMA Junkie Radio Overtime, a.k.a. Speedy Claxton, a.k.a. Air Claxton. All right, Goes, what do you have for Taiwan Claxton?
Taiwan, when you brought up the name Neil Melanson, I instantly made sense to me because I know you have a grappling background, and I know how much love you have for that, but the fans always equate you to that big finish and the stoppages using your elbows, your hands, your knees. Does it ever bother you that people just kind of overlook that grappling aspect of your game, because you are a very complete fighter?
You know, I don't think it bothers me at all, because I know what I'm capable of doing. And, you know, if people want to overlook that, or fighters want to overlook it, then I actually embrace it, because then it's that much more better when I beat a ground guy, quote unquote, at his own game, since people think I'm a predominantly a striker. But no, that doesn't bother me at all, man. I'm a person with thick skin, so there's not too much that actually bothers me.
Tywan, you into making people happy?
It all depends.
All right, here's how you can make us happy. I heard that on this show, we have a segment where fighters come on and they tell a street fight from maybe their past. I heard you got some pretty good ones in the college days. Is there any chance we can get one out of you?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you one where yeah, I've got a couple different ones. Fuck it, why not? Off the top of my head, I remember one time we were out at the bars, and one of my buddies that came up to visit me, and it's me and a few other of my college teammates, and this buddy of mine was in high school, and he was just coming up to visit, so we got him, you know, I sneak him into the bars, et cetera, a whole college thing, and we get in there, and he starts hitting on this girl. And this guy walks up to him, and he's like, hey, that's my girl. Don't talk to her, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, I'm probably about 15, 16 beers deep. I walk over to the guy, and I'm like, yo, do we have a problem? And consider I'm like 149 at the time. Like, yo, do we have a problem? This dude is huge. He's probably at least 200 pounds. And he's like, yeah. So before I learned how to fight, I knew how to talk. And 9 times out of 10, if you know how to talk, you don't need to know how to fight. So I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want there to be a problem. If there's a problem, let's go outside. And it kind of surprised me, because the guy was like, well, fuck it, let's go outside. So I'm walking outside. This dude's like 200 pounds. I'm looking around. I'm like, yo, this is about to be bad. Like, I can barely walk up somewhere. So I go outside, and the guy's like, oh, what do you want to do? So I grab both of his wrists, and I'm like talking to him, so I'm making sure he doesn't hit me. But I'm still talking while I have his wrist, and he goes to lift his wrist up, and I hip toss the guy on the concrete. And then, you know, a couple of my teammates rushed out of the bar, saw me, and like grabbed me. He's like, no, you know, they're running me off, taking me off. And the guy's like, why you gotta grab me? Why you gotta slam me? You know how you just got embarrassed in front of a lot of people. So, you know, that's one of my favorite stories, because I was, like, not ready to fight, super drugged, not expecting to fight, and wrestling just kind of came in and helped me out at the very end. But, yeah, that's, like, one of my favorite fight stories of all time, because I was like, you want to go outside? And the guy was like, yeah. And I was just like, oh, shit. Like, he wants to go outside and fight. So that's one of my favorite stories, just because, like, I just did not expect this guy to want to go outside and fight. Most people that in college are like, nah, I don't want to fight, but he was all about it. So
he called your bluff. He called your bluff, but you got him at the end.
He called my bluff, but I got him at the end.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so I guess in the meantime, you're going to take Kogan's advice and just take whatever name they give you then, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could try to poke a bear. I could try to call out this name or call out that name. But if you look at the division and you look at the people fighting, no one really wants to fight. Name one guy that just wants to get out there and go after it and fight in the featherweight division.
Pico.
That's funny. I sent that man tampons and he didn't fight. So
I think Pico fights don't. Wait, you would disagree with that? I think Pico comes out, he throws hands, he'll wrestle, he goes for the finish. I don't see him really downshifting or nothing like that, or in cruise control.
Have you seen the guys that Pico fought? Let's be honest here. You know, I'm an honest person. Let's be honest.
Okay.
My little sister beat the shit out of both of the guys that Pico just fought.
Well,
that Pico
yeah.
fought. The guy.
Look, I know. Well, one guy rattled his cage pretty good, even though he won.
Oh, the first guy.
Well, the
yeah,
first one for sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
even in the second fight, I think someone tested his chin. He came back and he won. But I guess, Taiwan, my point was he does come out to fight. That's what you originally said. Now, how the fight played out or what the competition was, that's a whole different thing. But I don't feel like he goes out there and is in any form of cruise control. Now, A.J. McKee sometimes can take things slow, and he's looking either for the right finish, a highlight reel finish, or maybe he's looking for you to make a mistake, or maybe he's just bored. I don't know. So I would agree with you there. He's not always going 90 miles an hour. But from what I've seen out of Aaron Pico, it does seem like he doesn't really sit back.
All right, let me rephrase that. Name a guy in the division, and if you switch it around, McKee is the guy that is willing to fight anybody. Pico isn't. So name a guy in this division that's willing to fight worthy competition. And you can't throw Pico's name in there because he's not. If he was, if another man sent you tampons to your gym and you don't fight him, that's first off, not even to say anything back from all the antagonizing and calling someone out. I just don't understand that. Like, we're all supposed to be gladiators, and that's the thing. If somebody if you look at it, each gym is a kingdom. Somebody disrespects your kingdom, you need to defend your kingdom's honor. And I just think it's that simple. You got Bellator hyping up these guys, and none of these guys really want to fight the highest level of competition. Because if they did, they would do what I'm doing, and they'd market themselves. They'd stir the pot, and they'd give guys a chance to react and to respond and to get ready to fight.
All right, fair enough. I see your point.
Those guys are looking to take baby steps. That's what they're looking to do. They're looking to take baby steps. I'm looking to jump in the pits of hell and see who's the better man.
Well, I'm down to see. I always enjoy watching you fight and these other names, and if they have to pair them up anytime soon, I'm in. I also believe in building towards some of these fights. Maybe that's what Bellator is choosing to do. You're right. Pico came with a lot of hype. So did McKee. Whereas I feel like you've earned yours more through your actions. But that's. I don't know if he was in the right place at the right time. I know he was managed by a group that's very close to the San Jose-based Strike Force team, and that's Zinkin Entertainment. So I don't know why that came with it. Plus, at the time, he had all the Olympic hype. Who knows, man? I don't have the answers to that question. But regardless, it's always fun to catch up with you. We thank you for the time, and hopefully when you book your next fight, we can promote it and talk about it and catch up some more.
Oh, absolutely, man. I always just love talking to you guys. It's a pleasure.
All right, Taiwan. Take care, all right?
All right, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you, sir.
Easy.
See ya. All right, folks, there you have it. Taiwan Claxton, ready to get down. When he said what he said, are we gladiators or what? Hey, if he's basically fighting under those words of wisdom, then you're right. Give him the big names now. Are we gladiators or what? What are we here for? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's ready to get down. Anyway, that's today's show. Thanks to Dan Tom for setting that one up. Devon Brock, General Frost. It was great having them on the show as well. We got a lot of things going on here behind the scenes, so we're just going to exit with our normal for Danny and Danny Goes. I'm George. Have a nice day. Be champions, and we'll see you tomorrow.